Hello, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining me, Jeannie. I'm your guide for the next hour. We're here at the community room of the ACC. And gentle yoga, our class today is just a continuation of what we've been doing, sort of stretching in the hips, in the limbs. We'll get some shoulder stretching going on. If you have difficulty reaching, like maybe in back of you, or hands back of you, or reaching the floor with your hands or with your hips, a good thing is maybe a strap nearby or blocks. You can even have a chair. As we go, if you've noticed in our sun salutation, as we go from a forward fold, sometimes having that chair out there, if that halfway balance, halfway position of walking the hands down is a little much, you can have a chair there. You can have blocks situated right in front of you. You could always start the sun salutations with the blocks in your hand to help you meet the distance when you go to the fold. So lots of options. What we're going to do for now, though, is go to the back of the mat. And as we arrive, just settle in. You don't have to change the quality of your breath. There we go. And just notice how the breath is moving through the body. Through the nose on the inhale. And again, through the nose on the exhale. Hopefully it'll start to go a little slower. I'm not sure if my connection is good here. Is that my... Okay, I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to switch it to the downloaded video. I'm sorry, I dropped my phone in the water yesterday or a few days ago, and I've been trying to dry it out. I think a nice option here is just to go to my downloads. Let's see if I can get to that. But keep breathing as we are getting to that breath. You'll notice that the heartbeat starts to slow. Here we go. Hopefully that will work. And if not, then we just won't have music, and that's okay too. Things happen, and we can adapt. Oh, great. And Sean, thank you. Our technician is going to see what's going on in the background. In the meantime, let's continue. So starting to breathe just a little more. And as you notice the inhales and exhales traveling through the nose, we're going to bring our left palm to the chest, our right palm under the belly, and just take the next couple of breaths. See how the hand lifts on the inhale. Maybe the rib cage expands even sideways at the top of that inhale. And then a brief pause, the exhale with just a little more control. And at the bottom of that exhale, pressing in the belly hand, bringing the belly button towards the spine. And to finish, cultivating our yogic breath. Expand the space at the top of the throat, near the voice box. On both the inhales and the exhales, see if you can hear the sound of the ocean. And with that, we'll go ahead and bring our hands down to the sides. And connected to that ujjayi breath, that yogic breath at any time. Let's go ahead and bring movement and breath together. So with the next inhale, start to slowly draw the energy at the feet, up the legs, up the spine, through to the crown of the head and beyond. As you start your slow exhale, engage the core. Start to feel that energy reverse order through the body, through to the bottom, and all the way down, back to the earth. With the next inhale, we'll start to shift the center of gravity at the soles of the feet towards the toes. Continue all the way towards the toes until you're at that edge. Use the next breath, hopefully. You can draw the center of gravity towards the heels. And then use the next couple of breaths. See if you can find that heel to toe alignment. The center of gravity moving slowly with each breath. And then we'll meet at center, back in mountain with the center of gravity feeling somewhere at the top of the ankles, near to the heels. Go ahead and drop on in. Inhale tall in your mountain, just a little longer in the legs. Crown lifting towards the ceiling. Then exhale, roll the weight towards the outer right edge of your feet until you fully exhale. Inhale back to center. Exhale to the other side. 3-part breath. Or just take 1 breath per side as you shift from side to side for a 2-part breath. Up to you. See what works. And then we'll meet at center. Again, somewhere at the top of the ankles, near to the heels. Go ahead and dip into your mountain. You can micro bend the knees if you want, and then lengthen through the legs. See if you can get a little longer. And as we're moving up the body, we're going to start to make round circles at the ankles. So inhaling, lifting up through the crown of the head, small circles radiating at the ankles, going out towards the perimeter of the feet, the edge of the feet as we make each circle around until you can find the very edge of the feet. And you might move the arms to help balance as you're moving that center all along the edge of your feet. And then we'll tighten in those circles. Meet at the center. Like water going down a drain. Let it just dip on in. Reset the mountain once more. Lifting all the way up at the crown of the head. Make small circles in the opposite direction. Same area around the ankles, radiating outward towards the perimeter of the feet till you find that edge. And once that's identified, go ahead and bring the center towards the ankles once more, somewhere above the arches, near to the heels. Go ahead and dip on in. We're moving on up to the hips, ankles, and maybe some of the shoulders. So we're going to start to shift our weight from side to side. And as we do so, we'll start to swivel the shoulders just slightly at the top. Have that radiate downwards as we start to bring more of our torso towards one side. We're going to pivot on the heel or the mid part of your foot. If you have a sensitive heel and don't want to place pressure on it, that's fine. But as we move from side to side, we're letting the arms be nice and relaxed. It's really just a swivel at the shoulders that kind of translates all the way down to the ankles, keeping our knees safe by lifting the ball of the foot as we turn to that side. And then the hands might just tap along. Just depends on how much momentum we get. And then we can let that kind of peter out. Once we feel that movement in the ankles, knees, hips, shoulders a little more, then we can loosen that out. Go ahead and shake out anything that was held in that last pose. We'll reset in our mountain once more, coming on up to the shoulders. Now give yourself a gentle bounce if you need to kind of remind you of where to place those feet. Hips distance apart. And then you can start to lengthen through the legs, straighten out the legs, don't hyperextend those knees, but we're looking for stacking the hips above the knees above the ankles as we work our way up. So as you come up to this portion, we want a gentle tuck under of the tailbone, just slightly pressing those hips forward if you can. And don't worry if it's not doing that. If you really have that anterior tilt and there's that flexion there, it'll take a while to get that long and lengthened. So think about lifting upwards as we come on up. So now we're moving up towards the shoulders. So palms are facing forward. See about that center of gravity somewhere stable at the top of the ankles, long legs if you can, a gentle bend to the knees if you need, and we'll go ahead and palms facing forward, lift the shoulders up towards the ceiling. And the exhale is just a brief melting of the shoulders back and down. Fully exhaled, engage the core. Inhaling, up goes the shoulders, exhaling, roll them back and down. See if you can tuck in the points into the mid-back as you exhale fully. And we're doing a total of 4 of these just as we inhale up and exhale back. But then our second set, which should be about now, inhaling tall once more. Shoulders come all the way up. We roll them forward on the second set. Total of 4 once more. See if you can use that ujjayi breath to really help facilitate the release. Inhaling all the way up. Exhaling forward and down. See if you can tuck them into the mid-back. One last one, I believe. Engage the core at the bottom of the exhale. And then we'll go ahead, shake out any residual activation at the legs, lift the feet, especially if you have a tendency to grip the mat with your feet. We'll move on up to the throat and the head. So one more resetting of our mountain. See if you've got that nice, even distribution of weight at the bottom of your feet, all four corners of the feet there. You can always roll to the toes and roll back down to kind of get everything onto the soles of the feet, onto that mat. And now we can inhale upwards, goes the crown of the head, lifting at the top of that inhale. So all you have to do is exhale. Right ear dips towards the right shoulder. A nice tennis ball size space between the shoulder and the ear. Palms facing forward. Inhale, feel that lifting up of the body, even at the sternum. Exhale, turn the gaze if you haven't. Try to release through the left side of your neck. We do also a total of 4 breath cycles here. See if you can just use that yogic breath to help facilitate the release. Lengthening from the feet all the way up to the shoulders. Exhaling, feeling that rootedness of the body, of the feet, of the legs, of the spine, all the way down into the mat, even as you're releasing through the left side of the neck. As you complete your last exhale, draw the belly button in, engage the core, and inhale. Turn the eyes, the gaze, the head completely lifts at the top of the inhale. So all you have to do is exhale, left ear towards the left shoulder. Inhaling, sternum lifts. Exhale, turn the gaze gently. Use the next 3 to 4 breath cycles. See if you can get the eyes to rest at the leftmost of your periphery on this side. And if you noticed your right side of the body, whether it's the right shoulder, the right hip, the right heel, lifting as you transition to this left side, go ahead and exhale. Bring back balance to that right side. Bring it back in line with its counterpart on the left side. That last exhale, go ahead and bring the eyes, the gaze, the crown of the head back up with the next inhale. And then all you have to do is exhale, the gaze floats downward towards the top of the mat. Nice long neck, space between the chin and the chest. As you inhale, that slight diagonal tilt of the crown of the head, but it's still an upward motion with each inhale. And a rooting down, a nice solidifying of the body with the exhale. See if the shoulders are nice and even. Notice if you're rolling on the edges of your feet, either in towards the arch or out towards the outer edge, you want a nice even distribution of weight. After the very last exhale, go ahead and inhale the gaze back up towards the midline, past the midline, and roll them towards the ceiling until you can see fairly above you. Once you can, stop craning the neck. See if you can lift the chest, the sternum with each inhale, even as your eyes are rolled up towards the ceiling. Palms facing forward if they changed. Go ahead and use the next 3 to 4 breath cycles. See if you can open up the mouth with a small O to a larger O. See if that relieves any tension in the jaw. You can loll out the tongue. Just let it kind of stick out. You can gently roll the jaw, lower jaw from left to right. You might deeply sigh, engaging the restful side of your nervous system. Let's go ahead and bring my eyes back down with the next inhale. And then go ahead and just shake out any residual activation of muscles. You might have some stiffness in the legs. You might have your feet sticking to the mat. Ankles, wrists might do some good for movement. And then we'll go ahead and start our walking meditation. We're going to go to the back of the mat in our stance of mountain. See if you can be a little longer in the legs, but keep a micro bend to the knees if you still need that. You don't need to hyperextend the back of the knees at all. Standing up nice and tall, gentle tuck of the chin. Imagine the crown of the head lifting towards the ceiling. As we inhale, we're pressing down into our feet, engaging the core, firming the thighs, engaging the abs. And as we do so, you can put your hands here at the hips if you want, but press downward with the legs, reaching downward with those fingertips. As we inhale, we're going to extend the arms as we're still reaching. At the top, we might even lift the torso. Press through the balls of the feet if you need. Exhale, start to hinge at the hips. Bend the knees slightly if you need. Start to stick out the tailbone. We're coming down with a long back and forward folding. Now here you might need to walk the hands halfway down or just let the back float down. Our first forward fold is pretty lengthy, about 5 breath cycles here. So it's a good time to check it out. Check out how the lower back feels, how the hips are feeling. If the knees, the backs of the legs are very sore, keep a deeper bend to the knees. But notice if the knees are bowing out. Try to get the knees in alignment with the ankles and the toes, the feet, and we're just slowly letting the back unfurl. Take a couple of deep breaths. You can do it through the mouth, but from now on, try to do it through the nose only. You might bend one knee slightly, and then gently straighten it to your ability, and then alternate with the other leg. With each breath, in and out, it's about 5 breath cycles. Hopefully we'll find a little release in the lower back, maybe even in those tight hips. But if you feel the center moving towards the toes, come on back towards the heels. Again, towards the top of the ankles. See if you can get your arms to relax as well. They might be at the thighs, supporting your back if you need, but if your arms are nice and relaxed, see if you can release through the neck, through the arms, the crown of the head, acting like a plum weight. Now with the next inhale, we're going to slowly roll up. Go ahead and bring the hands to the shins. Bring some weight towards the heels if you can, and start to press into the feet. Engage the core. We're going to slowly roll up with that slow inhale. Each vertebra stacks on top of the other. Hands can walk up, but we're pressing into our legs, hopefully not so much with the hands. And as the head comes up last, stacking on the spine, we can give ourselves a breath or two here, just to let the blood rush back to the head. And then we'll have one more fold. Reaching downward once more, feeling that nice stance at the feet, pressing downward, engaging the core. Inhale the arms up as we're still reaching at the top. Lift up with the torso if you can. Press with the feet downward. Engage the core. Hinge at the hips. Bending at the knees if you need. Strong back. Somewhere halfway down, you can walk the hands down, or you could just float all the way down. And here it's another fold, a little shorter this time, about 3 breath cycles. So here you can do a number of things as well. Give yourself some sort of movement, maybe a swaying of the hips from left to right. Notice how the center changes. Keep it near to the heels, above the ankles. And then see if you're holding on to your head. This is also something you can always do, is just bobble the head from left to right, forward and back. And then maybe it'll just dangle like a plumb line and get some traction with the help of gravity. Now here we're at a shorter stance, a shorter time here in this stance. So let's go ahead and slowly come up with the next inhale and that slow roll up once more, engaging the core, or you can come up with a straight back, but either way, engage the core and inhale deeply, pressing into the feet, lengthening through the legs. And as you come up, hands above your head, reaching all the way up, and hands come down heart center, gently pressing, resting here at the sides, and then finally at the side here. Let's go ahead and inhale. Arms go up. Exhale, fold once more. Inhale, half lift. We're going to lengthen through the back and see if you can bring the heels and the center of gravity right over the heels. And as we're lengthening there, see if you can feel that crown of the head moving out at that tangent while the hips down to the heels are really moving towards the floor. So you have this 90-degree angle. If that 90-degree angle looks more like a 45, that's okay. Keep a deep bend in the knees if you need, but we're just trying to do a half lift to lengthen. And then exhale, fold one more time. And deeply bend the knees if you need, but we're going to bring the center of gravity towards the heels and come on up once more. Slow roll up or straight back, all the way up with the inhale, engaging the core. Hands down, heart center, pressing into the palms. Bring standing weight to the left leg, lift the right foot, and then exhale, step it down. You might have the middle of the foot step down first if you have a sensitive heel. Inhale, left foot comes up. Exhale that foot down. It's a slow walking meditation to the top of the mat. One full step per breath cycle. If you feel wobbly, press into the palms. That might help you regain your balance. Engage the core if you've forgotten, and sometimes that will help your balance regain as well. At the top of this mat, let's go ahead and look down at the fingertips. Inhale, pressing into the palms, watch them rise. And above our head, we're going to separate the palms, engage the core, hinge at the hips, come on down. Put your hands on the chair if you need, on the blocks. And here we're going to inhale for a half lift. And that's either hands on the blocks, hands on the shins, hands on your thighs even. But try to come into that 90-degree angle and feel that nice stability here at the hips to the heels. And then exhale, bend the knees if you need, come on down, hands to the blocks or hands to either side of your feet and walk the feet back. A couple of steps may be needed until you're fully prone over the mat, and we'll be pushing our shoulders over the wrists and then bring down the knees. Untuck the toes. And in our modified half plank, give yourself a few breath cycles to see where you are. Tops of the ankles to the shins should be supporting the lower body weight, with the top of the weight really at these extended arms, supported by the extended arms. But if your wrists need to come out just a little more, just walk the hands out and splay out the fingertips. Try to feel as if the fingers along with the edges of the palm are helping to support you. You might have a little bit of space at the center of the palm so that not all the weight is dumped into the heel of your palm. Let's go ahead and tuck the toes. And with the next inhale, we're going to lift the hips up. Exhale, press into those extended arms so you can bring the hips into the down dog position. The heels can be lifted. You can be high up on your balls of the feet, or you can be lowering them down. Maybe eventually you might find the entire sole of the foot meets the mat, but it does not have to. At this point, a lot of us have really tight Achilles heels, calves, hamstrings, and that just might influence how far down we go. So don't worry about that too much. Keep it bend to the knees if you need. And we're here for about 5 breath cycles. We want to feel the energy moving from, say, this apex at the hips, all the way down the back to the hands, and then this apex of the hips all the way down to the heels or towards the balls of the feet. Those 2 points are moving from that apex to the floor at the hands and at the feet, while the hips themselves are lifting up. So you can actually lengthen through the back by just simply lifting up at the hips and lengthening through those arms. And then you can stretch out the backs of the legs by doing the same. Keep the bend to the knees if you need. And then with the next inhale, we've been here for a while, we're just going to roll our eyes towards the hands. Take a deep breath here, and then exhale slowly. Engage the core, bend the knees, and we're going to walk the hands to the back of the mat. You might just need to roll that center of gravity towards the heels and give yourself a nice deep exhale here. Inhale, half lift wherever you're touching the hands to. See if you can lengthen from the tailbone all the way to the crown of the head. And then bend the knees as we come into our another fold. Fully exhaled here. And then we're going to come out. Slow roll up once more. You can walk the hands up, or you can engage your core, pressing into palms, and come on up with a strong back. Hands all the way back up, and feel like you're pressing into your feet, lengthening through the legs, tucking under the tailbone, stretching up all the way to the top. You should feel engagement from the balls of the feet all the way to the fingertips. Hands down, heart center. Finally down to the side. We're going to do that one more time. Inhaling, hands to the heart, lifting the right foot, standing weight to the left side of the body. Exhale, right foot down. Inhale, left foot up. Exhale that down. Engage the core. Keep a gentle pressing of the palms together to help keep your balance. A soft, faraway look as we slowly walk one breath cycle per step towards the top. The top of the mat, go ahead and look at the fingertips. Inhale, pressing into the palms. Watch them rise. At the top, separate, engage the core, hinge at the hips, hinge at the knees if you need, and come on down. It's another fold, fully down to the blocks or even down to the mat. And then walk a foot down, another foot. Coming on back to our high plank this time, nice and long. We're inhaling shoulders over the wrists, nice and long. Strong legs, engage the core. Make sure the belly button is sticking to the ribs, and you can get that nice long alignment from the heels all the way to the crown of the head, as well as the shoulders down to the wrists, and the heels down to the balls of the feet. We'll go ahead and inhale, lift the hips up. Exhale, press into those arms, come back to another down dog. And this time, maybe you might find your heels coming down a little lower. Maybe your ears can manage to come in between the arms with a little bit more, a little less strain. Either way, you want to keep your experience, the practice where it's a comfortable, easy, steady position. Sometimes it's a little discomfortable, but you shouldn't ever have pain. We want to find out where any tension is, any achiness, and exhale that with the next breath. Let's go ahead and roll the eyes towards the hands, inhaling deeply here, and then exhale. Engage the core and fold. Come on back to the forward fold at the back of the mat. Inhale, half lift, and you can use your hands if you need to remind your feet to press into those into the mat there, and then fold once more. Keep the bend to the knees if you need, and feel that hip to heel center of gravity. Pressing into the feet, engage that core. Bringing the hands to the chest, reaching all the way up, lift up with the torso, exhaling hands down heart center. And that was our modified walking sun salutation. Now we're going to go ahead and just turn out towards the side of the mat. And if you have a hard time seeing me, you can stand where you are, but we are going to be in a side point for a while. So here, you can drink some water if you want, but we're coming into our balanced standing pose now. So one thing to think about is as we're standing here, you can notice that my knees are kind of knocking inward. I have this, the hips are really tight for me. So when my feet are directly under my hips, that's one thing. But as we adduct away from that midline, as our legs just walk outwards, we have a little bit of room to do that. And you'll notice how that translates in tight hips, tight knees. So if you step out and you find that that one step out to the side was too much, go ahead and adjust that. You can go for only a foot and a half. If you have a nice wide open hip, healthy, flexible, adduction ability, then you might have more like 2 and 3 feet between the feet, the feet. So the thing I want you to think about is just how you're standing in this foundational position of a wide-legged stance. So one thing to notice is when you first stepped out, how did the knees feel? Were they knocking in? Were they bowling out? Did the soles of the feet roll out towards the outer edge, or did they roll in with the arches? What we want is a nice, even distribution of weight. We want all 4 corners. The big pad of the foot underneath the pinky toe, the big pad of the foot under the big toe, and the heel, the west and east sides of the heel. Those are the 4 corners. We kind of want you to just evenly place that weight there. And again, more towards the ankles and the heels. But once you do that, then you'll see how does that translate into my knees. We're trying to lengthen through the legs as we can. We might need to bend the knees until we can lengthen through the knees. And lengthen through the legs. And notice if your quads are able to release at some point. Just by standing here for a while with the help of gravity, we're having our joints kind of realign. And if they're out of alignment, you'll feel that. So just Standing for a moment, noticing if you can lengthen through the legs without hyperextending the back of the knees. Tuck under the tailbone. I'm just going to move to the side so you have a view of this. So when you first start, you might look more like that. The torso may be pitched forward, the legs might be separate, but we're still dealing with the joints as they come out. So we want more of the soles of the feet to be nice and flat. And as you're standing there, you're just trying to stabilize that position more and more, where you can feel like you can stand there for hours. And eventually, you can lengthen out through the legs. The inner arches feel like they have contact with the mat without peeling off the outer arches of the feet. So you have that nice, even distribution of weight at the feet. Then you can think about the ankles. Roll the ankles in, roll the ankles out, and then find center. Same with the knees. See if you can knock them in a little. See if you can lengthen through the knees. And then they're just going to lengthen. You'll notice that the tailbone starts to tuck under naturally as you bring more of the body in alignment. More of the chest, instead of sticking forward, now stands up and is perpendicular and just situated inside the pelvic bowl. One more deep inhale. See if you can feel that inhale lifting from the sternum. Exhale, roll the shoulders back and down. Let the arms be nice and relaxed. Let the shoulders be nice and relaxed. And then hopefully you're going to have this alignment of the ear somewhere over the shoulder, over the hips, over the knees, over the ankles, or eventually getting to that alignment. I'm going to turn back towards the front once more. And as we have this nice long stance here, and we're stable here hopefully, notice again if your ankles are rolling in or out. We want this to just be our foundation. So in our wide-legged stance without hyperextending the backs of the knees, give that micro bend to the knee. Let's go ahead and bring our arms out to star. We're just going to bring the palms forward and go ahead and bring them all the way out to a T. And the fingers are splayed. Feel them reaching out. Now go ahead and bring the palms downward. Still splay them out. Now go ahead and bring the palms to face backwards. Still splay the fingers out. Then go ahead and let them float down. Go ahead and shake out the upper shoulders. And think about the lower region of your body. Just use those muscles you need to keep this form. Don't hyperactivate anything else in the lower body if you don't need that. And then once more, we're going to bring the arms out to a T, palms downward this time. Inhaling deeply, gentle tuck of the chin. Exhale, feel as if you're rooting down. And imagine the heels just pressing down a little more, the inner arches pressing down a little more, and the tuck, I want you to squeeze your glutes, squeeze your glutes. All righty, now with fingers together, nice and tight, really bring them out. See if you can stretch those shoulder joints away from each other. And then palms facing forward, inhale them up, palms together if you can, if not just up above. And then now exhale, palms away from each other. See if you can sweep them back behind you, interlace the fingers if you can, and if you can't, just hold a wrist. I'm going to turn around so you can see what that might look like. So here, you might be holding on to the wrist, alternate if one is held and then the other. You might be holding, interlacing the fingers, holding palms together. You might just be here. Wherever you are, the openness of your shoulder is what we're focusing now. Just roll them up and back and down. Give yourself a little bit of shoulder roll back, shoulder roll forward, and maybe alternately. Then we'll do that one more time. We're going to bring the arms out to this star position again with the fingers together. We're going to inhale the arms up. If you can clasp fingers above your head, great. If not, just keep palms facing up. And then we'll go ahead and release the fingers if they were clasped and just bring a hold to each elbow. Notice which hand is touching which elbow. We'll go ahead and inhale, arms up. Switch the elbows. Now, when you're here, see if you can pull just slightly, gently. You'll feel a nice opening at the back of the traps, at the back of the shoulder blades, that upper back. You'll feel an opening in the armpits as well by doing that, just a slight opening. We'll go ahead and lift up the arms once more, switch that hand position with the opposite elbow, and do it once more. Give yourself a nice gentle pressure of just pulling outwards. Not anything huge, just enough for you to feel that stretch. And then we'll go ahead and release the arms, let them float back down, and shake out the upper arms. Go ahead and inhale the arms up. Exhale, sweep them back behind you once more. See if you can clasp the fingers this time. If you still can't, don't worry about it. Maybe hands together. Maybe you'll get the elbow again. But this time we're going to roll those elbows back and down and lift up through the sternum and look upwards. You don't have to crane the neck too high. Just do the best that you can. Feel as if the hands are bringing pressure downwards so that you can stretch at the tops of the shoulders as well, and then release the arms. And then at this point, our legs have been working for us pretty strongly. Let's see how they feel. We're going to slowly shift weight to one side and bring a heel in, another heel in, and then we're going to heel toe it in until we're back in mountain. And I will turn around, and here, give yourself a gentle bounce to the knees. See if you can roll to the tiptoes a little bit or to the balls of the feet, just a little bit, and then roll back down. Just give yourself that nice little rocking action, and then we'll stand in mountain once more. And how are we doing on time? Okay, so as we're here now, we're coming on down to widening our legs once more. And we're going to do a fold. If you need a block in front of you to meet the mat as we do a forward fold in this wide-legged stance, you can turn to the chair in front of you. You can turn to your blocks. You can bring your blocks with you. And you can have them either in your hands. As we fold forward in our wide-legged stance, it just depends on where your practice is. But start off with your hands at the hips. Feel that pressing down of the legs, lengthening down through the legs. Sometimes it's just helpful to have the hands on the hips as you're doing that. Engage the glutes, and then slightly relax. Start to spin the tailbone back, and as we're here, hinging at the hips. Again, halfway down, you can start to walk the hands down the legs. If you have these blocks in your hands, hopefully they can help you meet the mat. But somewhere here, if you're feeling like your knees are really too wide, here's where you're going to adjust a little bit. You can always heel, bring the heels in a little bit, bring the toes in a little bit. You can have the toes kind of pointed outwards as we get lower here. You can also have a heel to toe alignment. Just depends on how your hips are feeling, how the inner thigh muscles are. Are they tight? If they're really tight, it might be hard to move away from the midline in that stance, that wide-legged stance that we have right now. So you're just doing a number of things to help open up. So as you get deeper and deeper into this fold, you can think about bending the knees slightly to help you. If you have tight hamstrings, calves, heels, you just need to bend to the knees and don't go as low as you were before. And here, it's kind of when it's like when we're doing a forward fold, we're letting the back kind of relaxed. We have these blocks here in front of us, we have the chair in front of us, or we just have the strength of our upper body and our abs. But whatever we're doing at this point in your wide-legged stance, just notice if the support at the soles of the feet changed. You want that good, four-corner stability. And as we get lower and lower, hopefully you'll feel that the hips are over the heels and you're getting just that sort of loosening, relaxing of the upper back, like when we're in a forward fold proper. Take one more deep inhale, one more deep exhale, really exit. Just deplete the belly, the air in the lungs, just get everything out. And then we're going to lengthen from the back, from the tailbone, lengthening down to the heels, from the tailbone to the crown of the head. Somewhat of a half lift here, or 45-degree angle lift. We have our hands on the blocks or on the chair. We're just going to slowly keep that center at the heels. We're just going to walk the torso over to one side. You'll feel that lengthening of your side, of the ribs, the arms, but we're keeping this right side down. So that right heel, the right hip should stay in place, should not lift with us as we move the torso. If you need to lift up the right side of your body as we stretch to the left here, then you've gone too far. We just want to stretch that side without moving our foundation of the hips down to the heels. Take another deep breath here. Engage the core. Exhale, come back to center. Inhale once more, nice and long. Exhale, move over to the other side as far as you can without changing your disposition here at the foundation. You might need to bend the knees slightly. If you feel your knee is torquing, don't let that happen. In just a couple of breaths on this side, hopefully you're breathing some length, some release into this left side of your body, the left rib cage. You'll feel something deep in the pelvic bowl, all the way through your abs, through the back, through the upper shoulders. Just a slight. You can even just let go of your head, not strain the neck too much. Now with the next inhale, nice and long, exhale, engage the core and walk the torso back to center. And we're keeping our hands at these blocks, and we're going to start to bring the heels in. We're going to bring the feet in just slightly and start to come in with the knees down to a squat. And here you can bring the blocks down to the side if you're at the chair. You can bring your forearms to rest at the chair. But eventually, we're playing with that squat position, bringing down the knees as is available to us, and rocking back on towards the heels if that's available to us. So you're just playing with your squat. You might have to put a block under the heels if that helps you. And here, as you get closer to the body, being into more of a crouched position, we want to feel that internal rotation. Bring your knees together. Try to turn those thighs inward. And what that'll do is help you to flex at the hips and not impinge, not have the ball joints of the hips, meeting anything that makes it uncomfortable. It makes it a lot easier. And as you're coming down, you may find that your heels just make a little more space. And you can always move the distance of the feet together. And eventually, as we get here, and you've done all you can with exploring the squat, we're just going to bring the knees down, untuck the toes, and let's sit in our hero pose. You might have something to help meet the mat, meet the hips to the heels. In either way, you don't have to sit up the torso until you feel the foundation is good. If you feel the knees start to roll out, bring the rotation inward. You want to sit the heels, hips right over the heels, and not slip them in between the heels as we do in fixed fern. So here, we might be doing this for a while. We might be just here with tucked toes for a while. We're exploring our hero for a while. And then when we are ready to come out of our hero, let's go ahead and just come on with hips to one side. Go ahead and bring the hips down. And I am going to actually bring the hips down on this side. You can give yourself a nice little glute massage and just roll on the back of the glutes. And we'll come to a seated position and making our way down to our Shavasana position on the back. We are getting close to the end of class, but I do believe we have one more that we can do before Shavasana final. So, coming on to the mat as best, as gracefully as you can. If you have a bony sacrum or spine, bring a blanket to the mat. If you're on a hard floor, that might make the difference. But as we come into Shavasana soon here, we want to start in our bridge with our feet up so we can do a nice counter stretch here. Now, the feet are about hips distance apart, somewhat below the bottom. Knees are pointed towards the ceiling.
And you can get this a little wider than the hips if you have a good hip openness and you want that deep windshield wipe stretch. But all we're going to do is just allow the knees to gently roll to one side. They may be hovering there in the air. They may eventually just move all the way down to the floor. You might have that top knee just resting on the calf of the bottom leg. It can be a number of things, but as you're windshield wiping to one side for the first time, take this moment to just savor that. You might hopefully feel openness in this left hip, where you can just hopefully breathe. Give that yogic breath, about 3 to 5 breath cycles here on this side. By the end, you might feel that you've found a little more release on this left side of the body. Either side might find the leg just hovering over a millimeter more. Now to come out of this, after your last exhale, we're going to inhale, the hands are back down on the floor. Inhale, the knees back up. And if you are feeling really fragile and you don't think you can make it, use your hands to help guide the knees back up to bridge. Take a moment there to reset your bridge in case you had a curvature of the spine one way or the other in that transition. Nice long spine aligned with the neck. And then we'll go ahead and exhale. Let the knees relax to the other side, to the left side for me at this point. And you're just rolling onto that edge of your feet. The feet position don't really move, other than you're just rolling to that side. You might get the arch to feel the mat on this side of your top foot now. You might find the outer edge of your opposite foot, your left foot in this case, for me, touching the mat. Maybe you might even get that left knee on the mat or the floor, but it depends. There are days where it's just hovering there up in the air, and you're just thankful for any release and tightness in the hips or the knees or the ankles. It's a total of about 3 to 5 breath cycles just to find something releasing for a moment. And after you're done with your last exhale, we're going to inhale, hands out to the side, or if you need to help the knees up, use your hands. But breathe, inhale the knees back up towards the center, and then we'll go ahead and lengthen through the legs. You can do one at a time, you can do both. But give yourself any last minute movement as we move into Shavasana. You might be pointing the toes long. You might be extending those arms above your head. You might be rocking the body. Whatever you're doing to get rid of any last activated muscles from our practice. So you can just relax on the back. The feet will be nice and long. I'm going to sit up just to mind the time. But as you rest in Shavasana on your back, belly is soft. You can close your eyes and let the mind relax. Respond to today's practice. If you start to think of anything, that's okay. Just return to the breath and breathe. And when you hear the 3 bells, we'll awaken.
bringing the mind back to the body, taking note of sounds outside the room, sounds within the room, and finally back to the breath. Notice the air as it enters the nose. Notice the air as it exits the nose. And as you reconnect to the body vessel once more, make any movements to the fingers, hands, rocking. You can rub heat back into the body. But we'll meet in an upright seated position. So if you would like to sit with staff legs out long in front of you, sitting on the hip bones with your legs crisscross or one leg out in front of the other as a easy seated position, or you could be like me in a seated hero position modified with a block under the sits bones between the heels, like so. And as we sit up nice and tall, we'll be ending class with our breath of fire. We've been working on this breath exercise, which is a wonderful way of increasing strength in your lung capacity, in your core, and it just does a great job of balancing out the body, giving you good energy, especially if you feel a little sluggish and a little tired and a little cold. So one thing to think about as we're sitting up nice and tall, you have that good distribution of weight supported at the sits bones. So if you want to rock from left to right a little bit, and then find that center horizontally, rock forward and back at the perineum, and then find center vertically. And then from that point, hopefully, you can lift up with the chest. Lift that sternum. Feel as if you've got that nice lifting here, a gentle tuck of the chin. And what we'll be doing is on our first round of 10 breaths, and eventually we'll just go to a straight 20. But our second round will be 20 breaths. But in each round, the first breath all the way to almost the last one is just a shooting out of your exhale. So we start by a good deep inhale, and then through pursed lips, you're just using the belly to push out the air. And in that way, at the very last breath, we're going to push out all the air, that 20th breath, fully expelling all the air from the abdomen cavity, from the chest if you can. Draw the belly button in. What we'll end up doing is just chin locking at that point, lifting up the pelvic floor as if you're cutting off the urine stream, and hold that breath for about 3 to 4 breath cycles. And that is roughly about 7 seconds long. And then we'll slowly let that exhale release through the pursed lips. That'll be about somewhere between 7 and 8 seconds long as well. But if you don't do it that long, don't worry. This is a practice and we're getting to that point. So sitting up nice and tall, once more, inhale all the way up. Bring that air all the way to the chest cavity if you can, and then shooting it out. Hold it, lift the pelvic floor, chin tuck. Feel that energy moving, about 3 to 4 breath cycles here. And then slowly release. You may even feel the glutes relax, everything in your body relaxing, so you lower down a little bit. Let the body return to a natural breath for a moment, and we'll start our second round. Inhaling deeply. Start now. Fully exhaled. Lift the pelvic floor. Chin lock. Slowly release. You might feel a little buzzing, a little feeling at the lips. That's okay. A little lightheadedness. Bringing hands to heart center. Thank you so much for joining us here for our ACC noontime gentle yoga. Hope you have a wonderful day. Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, once we start getting to that point, we might